My secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
And we're back.
Yay.
This is This Filipino American Life, and we are here with our guest from Mirage Medicinal, Nina Parks. Hello.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
Nina.
Thank you for
Welcome.
being here. So, could you share a little bit about yourself and what you do with Mirage Medicinal?
Sure. So, my name is Nina Parks. I am from San Francisco. My mother's Filipino. My father is Jewish American. Was born and raised out here, and Mirage Medicinal is a company that I run with my brother. It's medicinal cannabis delivery service right now, but we are a cannabis lifestyle brand. And right now I'm the CEO until my brother can take his rightful place as the CEO of his own company. Currently, he has a felony record, which stops him from being able to actually own a cannabis business right now until the state figures out what that, like, how do we actually allow people that have had former convictions to participate in this now legal business.
Great. So the question was, why did I want to talk to you? And so
Who asked that?
this guy right here, so, Mike
Sound
did.
guy, the sound guy.
Yeah.
Ryan. Joe didn't care. Okay, so the question was why, and so I
Cared.
he cared.
I cared. I didn't question.
Oh, okay. Wow, we're punchy. It's the end of the afternoon. But I watch Viceland. It's one of my favorite networks, and so you were featured on Weed Kit, and so when I saw that, I was like, hey, that's Christian's cousin. So
It's true.
So her cousin is Rocky Rivera, and so she used to live in Los Angeles, and so we were made friends with her back then, and so I was like, oh, hey, we kind of know her, so I wanted to talk to you about that.
Totally accessible, yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, the circle is kind of small. And so that stemmed a lot of questions for me because due to the changes in the law in terms of medicinal marijuana. And so I have to pull up my notes because I wanted to be prepared. So I wanted to know, like, how have the changes to marijuana laws impacted your business, Mirage Medicinal?
It's a good question. Okay, so we started out Mirage Medicinal, and it was like a super like mom and pop operation. We were like very, well, in this case, brother and sister operation, very bootstrapped, and it was a way for us to like be able to flip some dough. You know what I mean? So now with the regulations rolling out, there's going to be a lot. Before all we really had to worry about was our middlemen, and now we have to worry about the government as middlemen. Yeah, and we're just like, but you don't do anything.
Just take.
You just take. I know. It's just, but the reality is that we have to be participatory and direct them how should they take and where should you put that money. It's a very democratic process, kind of. But it has impacted us in us really having to think about scale. Right, like survival in an industry, right? So it shifted our thinking from this this town kind of like this small town kind of San Francisco, mindset of just like being here, and now we have to think of like we're going to have a brand that's going to grow with the industry. So the new regulations, we have to think about where are we getting our tree from? Is it safe? Do they use pesticides? Like we can't take bud that uses pesticides because it won't pass the regulation. And not to mention that it defeats the purpose of the medicine, right? And then on top of that, it's just like, where do we go? The zoning has changed. Us being able to kind of be a little bit more clandestine and off of a beaten path and kind of like tucked away in like a little garage somewhere, doesn't really work for us anymore. We have to find a zone,
like a storefront.
Well, we were able to fight for definition of retail, which bifurcates the definition. So that means splits it off into two different things. You can either be a storefront or non-storefront.
Oh.
So non-storefront retail is delivery only.
Got it.
And so that's more like e-commerce, like on demand to your door kind of thing. And then you have like the storefront dispensary, which would be the walk-in. And that's what we're going towards because we want to have a lounge also.
Oh, okay.
Like, we want people to come kick it with us, you know?
Yeah, because I remember when a lot of these laws were being passed in terms of like going from medicinal, because that passed, I want to say like, I'm not familiar with the years and whatnot, but then fairly recently was like the recreational use, and there was like a lot of stipulations to like whether or not
Adult use.
Adult
We use,
use.
Adult use. We don't use recreational.
Okay,
Yes.
so adult use, and like the zoning laws were like your shop needed to be like a certain amount of yards away from a school,
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet from a school, and like certain. With that was like certain edibles would be taken out of the conversation.
Well, okay, so here we go. Like this is some of the conversations that are still happening because there are no regulations that are finalized until probably December. So everything's still kind of up in the air. So you guys all have time to go call your legislators and be like, this is what we want our cannabis industry to look like.
Yeah.
But yes, the lower doses. So now it's like they're trying to put a cap on it, saying 10 milligrams in an edible is like where like the highest dosage. But that doesn't make sense for medicinal patients. Some medicinal patients actually need like 1,000 milligrams to be able to even, because if they're combating something like lupus or Crohn's disease or something that like has a lot of pain in their nerves, they just require more. So the problem is with that is that if 10 milligrams is the cap, then they're going to have to spend a lot of money to actually attain their medicine. So we're still trying to figure out, like, what does this mean for medical, and then what does it mean for adult use? As far as adult use goes, we definitely need to put it down a little bit just because, like, we don't want to have what happened to people in Colorado and in Washington where there's, like, all these calls to, like, the emergency room because they're like, I'm tripping balls, man. And, like,
I'm like, you can't see my eye roll.
Right? They're like, I'm dying. Or, like, you're not dying. Just, like, drink lemon and water, take some activated charcoal. Because that's what they would give you if you go to the hospital. They give you activated charcoal
to clear out your stomach.
Exactly, and then just tell you to take a nap. So
because that's all we really need.
Right? They're like, sleep this off, sleep it off. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch that we're still hammering out. But it's a question of accessibility and then public safety.
That makes sense.
Yeah. You do business in San Francisco proper?
San Francisco and then all the way down to Redwood City. So we do deliver down to Redwood City.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe policy. Does the city have a policy in itself? Like, do they have like a coordinator that does all this? I imagine that it's really, really tough.
And it's different for like all the different cities they have to go through.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like we have a different experience because we only know what LA what it looks like. The landscape in Los Angeles looks like. So I'm sure it's different up here.
Oh, totally. And I'm actually in conversation with the newly appointed person in LA as well.
Kat
Packer, she's awesome. I love it because she has the mind to create the equity event, like a program that we're looking for California wide, really. But San Francisco, newly formed department. It's the Cannabis office. They just appointed a woman to, so yay for women, to be able to write out the regulations. Okay. We are not there yet. We do have meetings from now until forever. No, but we have to have something done by December. Okay, so we have to have something for December because ordinances have to sit for 30 days before they get enacted, and then state rolls out January 1st or 2nd, and so the city wants to be able to be prepared
to have something done by December 1st.
Yeah, because they already have San Francisco already has like 32 dispensaries or something, and so all of those want to be able to transition over, and if we don't have permits ready, then not even the ones that exist can transition over. So we have to have something in place by December. It is in the works, and we are talking about equity program for San Francisco as well. San Francisco's equity program will look different than Oakland's. Are you guys aware that Oakland has an equity program?
No.
Okay. So we are talking about cannabis, right? Cannabis has had a 100-year prohibition.
Yes.
It has been used to be able to target communities of color. It has caused a lot of damage
Yes.
Right. So we're asking our lawmakers to consider the damage that was done. And before they start allowing all these people that have millions and millions of dollars of just being able to profit off of this industry that people are making a living off of because it was hard to attain financial foothold in in the city,
Yes.
or in LA or anywhere in California. It's an expensive state. We're asking them to be able to restore justice.
Yeah.
And so part of the restorative justice is creating an equity program. Oakland's equity program is 50% of the permits are set aside for equity permit holders. Equity permit holders are defined as people that come from particular areas in the city that have been over-policed or where enforcement has been very high. And then if you've had a incarceration or a cannabis conviction within that city, you also qualify as an equity permit holder. To be able to hold an equity permit. Something that's cool about that there is that you can apply for an equity permit before you actually have a location, since real estate's really hard to come by. They can still secure the permit while they're still working on the other pieces.
Got it.
Right. We're trying to have that for San Francisco as well. San Francisco will be different, however, because we're our landscape. Our socioeconomic landscape is so different than Oakland. Our demographics are very different than Oakland. Our industries are very different than Oakland. So we're trying to figure out something that works for the heart of what San Francisco is. So one thing that we're working on is having a very well-coordinated educational and incubator program, because that's there's 3 barriers to entry for impacted communities. Capital. Access to capital, money's hard to come by, period, let alone for a cannabis business, let alone for whatever, and it's expensive. Real estate is the other barrier to entry. And then just the knowledge of how to run a business and how to navigate through this crazy bureaucracy that we got to navigate. Most people don't have patience for that. Right. But we need our community to have some patience for it so that they can actually set up shop and have some longevity. Right. And we can attain power and resource back to our communities. So we're looking for an educational program, because we need people to know how to run businesses and how really how to compete and talk about the plant within these new spaces that are evolving. And then we want the city to be able to provide maybe warehouse space or affordable real estate. And we also want 50-50 licensing. And then no interest loans or some granting programs to be able to small business granting programs
loans,
to be able to get the business off the floor.
I was wondering about the banking industry when it comes to the changes in the legislation. Did that alter any? Banks can loan you out money if you had a. Has it changed at all?
It has not. Banking, banking's still federal.
Okay.
So they're FDIC insured, and so they shut down bank accounts like that.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's so sad.
Wow. Interesting.
This is all fascinating to me. And you just spoke about what my key question that has been rolling in my head about how the country has been steamrolling towards legalization, and I've been seeing how it just seems like these white businessmen are profiting off an industry that so many people of color, young people of color, have gone to jail for minuscule amounts of cannabis. And it's this guy went to jail for a dime bag, and then this fool here with $1 million is going to invest and then make millions upon millions of it. The disparity is extremely frustrating to witness. And it's rapidly happening because the industry is so new. And and this is just all I see in LA, and then via television shows and just via having conversations with friends, because it does feel it feels like a rugged cowboys and Indians type of industry that there's no regulations, people are trying to figure it out as they go, and that to me is extremely frightening.
And then a lot of the kind of the equity programs are just coming from local local jurisdictions, and it's just so piecemeal. It's not statewide. Oakland has something that's really progressive, but other places probably it's just totally not equitable for folks.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, you have places like the Inland Empire that have like county bans and all sorts of things, and which is crazy because in like it's a Riverside and San Bernardino, and then that's where the Cannabis Cup is held, but yet they have like a full wide ban and no interest in being able to put an equity program, but you're just like you're already profiting from this, you know. So it's it's tricky and it's politics, right? And like I'm still learning about all of that too, and every single time I'm always like, this is stupid, but then like I'm still at the table, and like so I'm like, guess not that stupid.
But like the reason, the thing I took away was like the reason you're at your table is because your brother can't take like the lead, which is what, because I know from your background, like you're a community organizer, and then you have your own goals and dreams that you want to do, and like your brother, like it's almost like your brother wanted his seat, and then he got picked up because another state wasn't legal for him in another state,
right?
And so it's kind of like, look, if you just look at anything on face value, like the liberal arts humanities person who does critical thinking as a part of my life is like, all of this is stupid. Like, what the hell?
Right.
Like, this is just completely irrational. It was legal for him in California, and then he was just moving product, and so it's kind of like, this is dumb. Like, you just want to say this is dumb.
Right. You want to exactly. It feels that way. However, it's not. It's very. It's very real, right? The whole restorative justice piece of it is very real.
Yes.
Cannabis is like this portion of cannabis. This time period in cannabis is like the next piece of the civil rights movement, right? It's an arm of it, right? Because the intersections of cannabis, it overlaps in so much for like education and mass incarceration and all of these things. Yeah. So we have to pay attention and take it seriously and not be scared of it and be like, oh, but it's a drug and we're talking about a drug. It's like, no, we're not. We're talking about an herb. We're talking about a good alternative to many other opioids. And we have an economic opportunity to really be able to make a difference, you know? And so I sit at the table because I know that there's an opportunity. And, you know, my dreams, it was funny because like Vice really was like, she has other dreams too. And I was like, I was like, yes. I was like, because I needed drama, because like the whole time I was really like, we come up and we help my brother, and like this is what we do, and family like stands up for each other. And they're like, that's not a good enough story. We need like heart.
we need something else.
Dad, we need to pull on the heartstrings. And they're like, she's giving up her dreams, and like my dreams are to like
make money.
My dreams. Is
my dream.
My dreams are to make change. My dreams were to restore justice to my community, because I was like I worked in juvenile justice, so like I want to see our people not be criminalized, and I want to see us thrive. So this is like my dreams are being met by doing this work, and so everyone was like, oh, look. Wow, she's not gonna get her dreams. I'm like, nah.
I'm glad we're gonna clarify that on this podcast then. Yeah.
I got a question.
No, you can't have samples. No, I was kidding.
Damn it.
I brought some. Okay.
Mom and Dad, I do not smoke weed. Sorry.
Mom and Dad, I've never done that either.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad already know that that's what I do.
My mom caught me once. Oh wait,
really?
Say, making weed brownies.
Oh no!
She's like, what's that? Oregano?
No, it smells like a skunk.
She totally knew what it was, and my brother and I were looking at each other like, whatever, Mom.
First off,
she's like, oi, stop.
Why were you making it at home?
Why? Where else would I make it?
I don't know, but not at home with your parents there.
Well, he lived at home at the time. So.
I was living at home at the time, and I was like, dude, where am I going to make the weed brownies? At home.
At work. So my question is, what percentage of your clientele are Filipino?
Oh, that's a good question. Not enough. We need more. You guys hit us up, miragemedicinal.com. We would like to have more. You know, it seems like a lot of, you know, right now, a lot of people still got their plugs. But we, you know, like we service Daly City, like heavily. We would like to service more, and we are around, and we can get it to you into 30 minutes. So hit us up.
We're totally gonna plug
it's like 10. I was like maybe 10%. I was like 10% maybe. Like we definitely need more Filipino consumers. And like right now we have a wonderful hat that's out with Whip Caps. I don't know if you guys are aware.
Nice.
We're trying to so Whip Caps is a company from the Philippines. They have a streetwear brand that's in Manila, and we did a campaign trying to educate and start a conversation in the Philippines about medicinal cannabis. Them following the Philam experience, so like us being included in that conversation. But the hat is a hemp hat because hemp is a very viable industry for the Philippines.
Yeah.
If they don't want to have the narcotics, because that's like something that they're it's not working very well for them right now.
Duterte.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, it's a whole can of worms we could do another show on.
Yeah.
But hemp is a very viable option, and you can do high CBD hemp, and then it allows them to really embrace like the medicinal qualities of the plant and use the other stuff for manufacturing textile and concrete and other things. So plastic, fuel. I can go on.
Yeah. Philippines was known for their hemp. They call it Manila hemp.
Right.
Back in the day, yeah.
Exactly. Bring Manila hemp back again.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's just make that a TFAL shirt. Bring Manila back again.
Oh, dude.
Okay, we'll tell Vince.
Yes.
We'll make it happen.
I will rock that shirt.
No, because it's really frustrating. Because if you see it like historically, like the campaign against hemp is seriously just it's like against it was basically so somebody else could get rich off their own like paper. So and like literally newspaper.
Yeah.
So it's really frustrating because it's like it was a better option. To my opinion, it's a better option for a lot of things in this industry, like rope and healing and paper, like all of these things.
Hemp
Oil,
lotion. I use a face wash and a scrub and like everything. It's so good. Like it makes it
I bet
so
your skin is so
nice.
soft.
It's so soft.
I gotta use that. For my head.
For your head?
So another question I had was, do you sell any Filipino-inspired edibles?
Oh.
Not yet, but I do.
What would you do?
Oh, me? Oh, we can do like
Filipino
like some
espasol.
or like those pastillas. Oh, right. That'd be cracking. If someone wants to make that, we'll take that.
Weed bibingka. That'd be cool.
Yeah, they're not gonna do fresh products, and they're not gonna do like pastries. No, they're gonna like things are gonna have to have a shelf life. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Which is not. I don't know.
I don't agree with it.
So it has to be.
Like I don't agree with it.
So what are the rules again? What are the edibles?
So they're gonna have with the edibles, they're gonna have to be shelf sustainable. So to have a good shelf life, they don't because they don't know how long it's gonna sit on somebody's counter or whatever. They don't want, of course, selling any rancid food. That makes sense. However, like it doesn't make sense that you can't do like cupcakes with frosting and like brownies, no baked goods in that same way unless it's like a Hostess kind of thing. But then it's so much preservative that like it defeats the purpose of the medicine again.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So no more butter? No more
you can do butter's okay.
Oh, okay.
So they'll do butter because that's shelf sustainable.
Because you can put it in the fridge. Well, butter is
But like they were still fighting that out because they're just like, oh, no refrigerated products. You're like, what?
What?
Like all you need is a refrigerator in your dispensary. What do you mean no refrigerated products? So hopefully hopefully some of the common sense gets put into place.
That's it. Common sense.
Weed dried mangoes.
That would be delicious. I've had medicated pineapples and then medicated like dried apples, right?
Oh yeah.
So like dehydrated fruit. Yeah, mango. Do it. Chili mango.
Chili mango.
Yes.
Oh,
that'd be cool.
That'd be really good.
What else, guys? What else?
We're like,
I'm like
ube. We can do like a
ube cheesecake. Sorry,
No, you can't do that, right?
No, it's not.
It's dairy.
I know. Nah.
Chippy? Can you use chippy?
Choco nut.
Or you can make it like into a cookie or something, right?
Milo.
Oh, do you know
Wheat Milo.
if you did like what happens if you did like ube flavored chocolate chips? You know, like made like infuse the chocolate.
Brown baked desserts, which we had last time.
Okay, that's true. Yeah.
With medicinal cannabis combined, like those cookies that we had, like the Toron one. Fusion.
Okay.
How about those? You know those boats from Goldilocks. The like the Lalanka, like the you know what I'm talking about. They're tarts.
Like the pecan tart.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
That'd be smacking.
Or mamon.
You guys are making me hungry.
Was also almost
medicated mamon.
Can you imagine that? Then you eat more star bread.
Medicated star bread.
Oh.
Game over.
Star bread. If you don't know Star bread, it's a staple here in the Bay Area. It's crack, basically.
I bet you that Miss Cake Maker, Leilani, like Soul Desire Bakery. I bet you could make that. I bet she could. She would make that.
I'm just like,
We just have to ask her.
Yeah.
Joe's still thinking about it.
I know.
But are there good Filipino? Like I just thought espasol because I like the rice flour and it's chewy.
Right.
But puto, turon.
Turon would be, I mean,
Leche
turon would be
flan.
easy, right? Like a little bit easier to do.
There should be a whole episode of that. What's that show? Bong
Appetit.
Yeah, it's Filipino food. Yeah.
We should do that, you guys.
Leche flan. It's all dessert though.
There's no, so what are you going to make? Like medicated adobo? Like,
Oh, we eat the whole
Medicated pancit.
I don't like, it's like
Bay leaves. Yeah, there.
Really?
Oh,
Instead
yeah.
of the bay leaves.
Right. It would be like medicated arroz caldo. Like, you can like maybe lightly medicated. You could fry the
crispy
the-
onion or something that
Yeah,
you put on top.
exactly. The garlic. Fry the garlic in it.
Yeah.
This became a
That's
food
a
show.
total like.
Clearly, everybody's thinking about dinner right now.
We're getting some good ideas here. We gotta keep it going.
But it's kind of like these are all foods that I wouldn't need. I would eat too much of to begin with, and then you're gonna put.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it'd be all
Well,
that.
like it's so gluttonous.
That's why I was saying lightly medicated. If we just do like the fried garlic, then
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is not medicated.
What if instead of lemongrass, lechon,
Oh,
you infuse it with?
that lechon is
But
gonna.
that's a lot.
Like,
Like, damn.
Oh, and it's like I say, it's fat soluble too, so it'll just get soaked up by the lechon fat.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know what else to go. Like I think. Oh, we're already, we should wrap up
Yeah.
because. Was there anything else that you want to plug or like put out there for the audience for advocacy or for
Yeah.
your
For on the advocacy piece, I would say pay attention to what's coming around the bend because LA is going to start an equity program. So people in LA need to think about like their areas that have been impacted by the drug war and how they want their cannabis industry to look like. You know, like in the Filipino neighborhood out there, who do you guys want selling you your weed? You want it's like a whole bunch of white boys from like Ivy League schools that got dough that's gonna do it.
No, I don't want that.
Or support your community. Like it's not a time to go hate on people right now. This is a true opportunity, to bring one up,
Yeah.
So we have to take this opportunity. We have to support our communities. We have to be able to see faces that look like us gain resource and power within this industry.
Yes.
Right on.
All right. So you can find you on social media. Where at?
Yes, you can find me. Oh, I have another plug. Okay, hold on, wait.
Go ahead. Plug
Okay,
away.
so I don't know when is this going to air? Is it going to?
Sometime in a month.
Oh, okay. Never
Or
mind.
maybe. I don't, we haven't figured out.
Okay. All right. But okay. So another thing is that I facilitate a Mirage Moon yoga class. So it is a medicated yoga class.
That looks so cool. I wish I was up here. Every time I see you post about it, I'm like, damn, want to be in the Bay.
Do a lot of people do this?
There are actually some in LA too. So I can plug you with the people that are in
Yes,
LA,
please.
and then you can go. And then we also want to do some pop ups in LA. So we'll do that as well. But the next one is going to be next week. So remember this: full moon, new moon, medicated yoga with Mirage Medicinal.
Okay.
You can find me at Nina_Parks. And that's IG. And then you can find us at mirage.medicinal.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We learned a lot. And I'm glad we could speak upon everything that we just talked about.
Right on.
And to our parents, we've never done any of this, so cool.
Mom, sorry.
And Ryan apologizes.
Sorry you ate that brownie you thought was not medicated.
Was she giggly?
Dude, she was.
Oh, you just busted her out.
Yeah. Love you, Mom.
Your mom's already fun to begin with. So
No, she
her on
loves
that-
chocolate. And she's like, what is this chocolate thing? And then she just started eating it. And my brother and I were like, dude, I think Mom ate the weed. And then she just it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. She's like, why am I so hungry?
You got munchies? Mommy got munchies?
How you feel, though? How you feel? Feels great. All right. Good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Nina. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
Weren't you in a spoken word art thing in college?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it called?
It was the 5-Star Arts Collective.
5 stars? 5 stars, like how I can rate our podcast, This Filipino American Life, on iTunes?
Yeah. Sure.
Have you rated our podcast on iTunes yet?
I haven't. Sorry.
What? What's,
I don't even subscribe. Sorry.
what? Oh my gosh, Ryan,
Blasphemy.
have you subscribed?
I have subscribed.
Have you rated us
I
on
have
iTunes?
not rated
Maybe
on
you
iTunes.
should do
I
that.
will do that.
I have a 5-star Converse.
Can you rate us on iTunes too, Joe?
Yeah, of course.
All right,
Cool. So 5 stars, like how you rate your Lyft and Uber driver. 5 stars.
Sometimes.
So you should always rate them 5 stars.
Please rate us 5 stars because the more reviews we have, the more good reviews we have, we're gonna have more. It'll be easier for people to search us on iTunes.
Correct. And it's not like the only thing will come up is how to learn Tagalog.
Yeah. So far, if you Google or if you go on iTunes and search for Filipino, we are the 3rd podcast that you find. We want to be number 1.
We're number 1. We're number 1.
We do not want to be behind how to learn Tagalog.
Oh no.
Yes. So rate us 5 stars, like Mike's 5-star Arts Collective.
Or else I'll do some spoken word next time.
Oh no. Please, with these brown hands, do not do spoken word. But give us 5 stars.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to TFAL.
Yep.
We are here again in the Bay Area, San Francisco, and
Don't
we
forget
are.
San Jose, Oakland.
Oh,
Yeah,
Bay,
too.
as I said, Bay Area.
Bay Area.
Physically, we are in San Francisco.
I'm like Hayward.
Land of the
East
hyphy. Where any place that goes hyphy, you're in the Bay Area, right?
Sure.
Encompasses everything. Encompasses Stockton, Modesto, right?
Sacramento.
Shake them dreads. So yes, we are in the Bay Area. It's also home to the tech industry, this epicenter of everything tech.
Wow.
High tech.
High tech.
Linte.
I'm so low tech though. I'm like not. I know. Don't look at me like that. I'm not very high tech, but yeah.
We need to get
trying.
you up to the 20th
Yeah.
century.
I know.
And we wanted to invite a gentleman here who is who works in the tech industry, and who could tell us a little bit about being Filipino in the tech industry.
Cool.
So, Carlo de la Fuente.
Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay.
Welcome, Carlo.
Thank you.
Can
Thanks
you
for having me.
share your official title?
My official title. So I am a manager of operations at a Silicon Valley tech company. Should I say who?
It's up
Or-
to you.
Up to me.
Yeah.
Well, it has San Francisco has my company name in it.
Got it.
San
San Francisco.
Even Ryan got that first.
The non-tech guy got it first.
Friend.com.
Friend.com.
San?
Yes.
Oh, SanDisk. Okay.
See, you guys know your stuff.
Well, he's a tech guy, so he should know.
So, how many TPS reports do you make?
Too many.
Work on Sunday.
How long have you worked in the tech industry?
Gosh, going on 17 years
Oh.
now.
Nice.
Wow.
Straight out of college. It was basically the first .com boom
Mm-hmm.
back when they had pets.com and things that didn't really solve problems, but were just kind of
There.
kind of just there. And they were hiring
wow,
everyone out of college that had a degree. Didn't matter what it was.
Where'd you go to school?
Santa Barbara.
Santa
Gauchos, go Gauchos.
Oh, so did you do
UCSB?
computer science?
I did not. I'm actually a biology major.
Woot woot.
Oh.
Yes.
Change.
So
So
yeah,
you study animals at Cisco?
I do not.
Tech animal.
So yeah, how did you just kind of get into the tech industry?
So it was one of those things where, like I said, they were hiring people off the street to do anything and everything. And when you're a college student graduating and you got your loans to pay, it's like, okay, do I want to be a lab tech at Genentech, making $30,000 a year, or another company that's going to pay me $45,000 to enter orders all day long?
Wow.
right? And they're like, okay, I'm gonna go for the money, right? And from there, but it's actually interesting because I'm actually a non-tech person. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a programmer, etc. But my background being in biology, it's all about how it's cause and effect. You do one thing, and how does that affect your ecosystem? You know, a reaction between chemicals, whatever it might be. And but I'm in operations at Cisco, so the background actually is kind of related, even though I didn't actually study for it. Yep.
Interesting.
During that time, you know, we call it a boom now, of course, and of course, I don't know, I kind of remember, but did you know that there was like a boom, or is that like a based on the hiring of people, or is it based on just like media?
No, there was definitely a boom in terms of the amount of stock people were getting, how much that stock was actually worth, the cars people were pulling into the parking lot.
Wow.
I mean, you could definitely see it.
And did you grow up in the Bay Area at all, or?
No, actually, I'm originally from Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
So this Filipino Canadian American life.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto.
There's Toronto.
Toronto.
Hindi lumpia, Toronto.
Oh my God! High five! High five!
That's a good
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yes.
But yeah, you could definitely see it in the just amount of wealth that was generated was tremendous.
I guess I also wanted to comment on like kind of the demographic of the people that that were in the Bay Area during that time. I don't know if you could speak to that. Like, did it change as well in terms of like, because there was a tech boom, like who was around? Did people get pushed out? Is that something that you can kind of reflect on, or was it more of like, you know what, there is a boom, the people that are living here now have jobs, or now are more available to someone like me who's a bio major? I can just, you know, there's so much work out here. Did it appeal to folks who are not really tech people?
I would say in the first boom, yes, absolutely. We had people who didn't have degrees who were getting hired just because they just needed
People, like
people
manpower.
in the seats, manpower.
Yeah.
But with anything, you know, things get automated, you know, optimized. You get more efficient at doing things. Outsourced, right? So
TPS reports become electronic.
Exactly. you know that order that goes on online actually makes it into, you know, the factory versus someone printing it out back in the day. You know, so those are the things that you say, yes, I'm placing my order online, but there's actually someone manually doing that behind the scenes in India or something like that. So, and I would say today it's actually interesting because I'm married to a tech recruiter who's, you know, built the teams at Facebook and Google, and now the jobs are definitely, and the skill set is definitely more specific. Right.
What's the skill set? Is it like a CS degree with like something?
Correct.
With some entrepreneurial type of background?
It's a degree with, yes. So it could be entrepreneurial, but ultimately it's just the experience, having the experience. And
do you have to like know a specific language to code in?
Whatever's the flavor of the day.
Oh,
yeah.
So when I used to work in STEM field, like everybody was learning Python. So it's like if you knew that, then you can probably. What are you doing?
Ryan is flexing.
Why are you flexing your arms, your pythons?
Sorry.
It's more like jellyfish.
Hey.
If there was a language called jellyfish, I think we would all win.
There probably is, right? Because they've got the weirdest names, like Ruby on Rails. Like, what is that?
That's a language?
That is a language. It's a computer program language.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I should make up some weirdo name.
So, are there a lot of Filipinos at Cisco or any of the companies that you worked in?
Yeah, I would say there's a pretty good amount. If you look at the tech industry, especially here in the Bay Area, it's about 30% Asian. We do have a Filipino employee network at my company, and just looking at the membership alone, people who are subscribed to that alias, we're looking at a couple hundred. Okay. So times that by your other large companies in the Bay Area, Google, Facebook, HP, you name it. Probably in the thousands, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do they kind of gravitate towards specific positions, or it's kind of all over the place?
Yeah, because like in the nonprofit industry, Filipinos tend to be like in in the accounting area or the finance. like whenever Mike will say like I met a Filipino at work, I'm like, so are they your new staff accountant? And Mike's like, yeah. How'd you know? I was like, oh, because that's usually where they are.
Well, it's actually it's all over the place, to be honest.
Cool.
If I look at the demographics of, or at least the people in the positions of the company that I'm in today, it's marketing, it's finance, it's also engineering, and then it's as well. It's in the services jobs as well. We have a Filipino chef at one of our cafeterias, and we have Filipino lunch day a couple times a year.
What do you get at Filipino lunch day?
It's usually lechon and adobo
Really?
and all the good stuff. Yeah,
And it's good. It's not
it's
like
good.
crappy.
No, it's good.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
really good.
impressive.
We're gonna have to test that.
We even
as
had we even had Gabe Bondoc come and sing in our cafeteria while we were eating
Nice.
Filipino food, so it was pretty good.
Wow, I like this pandering. I want to get pandered too.
The tech industry has kind of reputation, especially folks who are more progressively minded, that it's not diverse. It's usually just white and Asian. And usually Asian
And
means
male.
East Asian and male.
Mhm.
What are your kind of impressions of that? Is it true? Like according to your opinion? So what do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think that it's definitely true. It's definitely white, Asian, and male, at least from the data that I've seen. But it's changing a little bit. I know we have a lot of companies who are doing initiatives around pay parity, advancing women in technology, etc. And actually, for what I've been told, the people who benefit the most from those efforts or initiatives are actually white women. So there was a study that came out from Ascend Leadership, which is the largest Pan-Asian nonprofit leadership development group in the U.S., and they have this thing called the Executive Parity Index. So basically, if you have a certain percentage of people in a demographic as individual contributors, the parity index would be 1 if the representation was the same in executive levels. So for white males, it was like 1.5 times. They were doing way more, way better than the average demographic.
Wow.
But if you look at Asian male and female, you're looking at 0.5 and 0.3 for Asian female. So it's almost like a quadruple whammy if you're Asian and you're female in the tech industry in terms of your ability to get to an executive rank.
Wow. So, but then when they say Asian, they don't really disaggregate that data, right? So it's hard to tell how many percentage of that is actually Filipino.
Correct.
Or-
They do not. They do not. And that's one of the things that is a big challenge for the tech industry today. You see a lot of technology companies coming out with their EEOC data, right, in terms of...
Was that
employee
equal opportunity.
employee something.
Something. Yeah.
Look it up,
We'll
right?
look it up real quick, yes. EEOC, Equal
Opportunity.
Employment...
Captain EO?
Opportunity something, right? But company. There's still a whole lot of work to do there. And that's where I think the tech industry is going to have to innovate. If we're talking about innovation as an example, what we do with that data, I think a lot of companies are still pretty afraid of being too transparent because of what can be done with that. So you look in the news this week, Google got sued for discriminating against female pay, and that's just the latest lawsuit of the week, right? In the industry. So there's still a lot of work to do there, but at the same time, if we don't have that data, to your point, how do you know you're making a difference, right?
Yeah.
So if I started a Filipino American leadership development course for tech workers, what would that look like, or who would I target? Because I don't know who they are. It makes it difficult to move the needle.
Nice.
EEOC is Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Awesome.
Good
Thanks, Google.
Yeah.
Thanks, Google.
What? No, I just knew that off the top of my head.
Sorry. Thanks, Bing.
Thanks, Bing. No,
Thanks, Excite.
ask Jeeves.
Alta Vista.
Alta
Alta
Vista. Lysos.
Lycos?
Lycos. Oh, I said it wrong.
And Lysos. That is in
Wow.
your hair, the Lysos. Wait, so I'm just curious. What happened to those old companies like Lycos and Alta Vista?
They get bought out.
They just get bought out?
I imagine, right?
They just fail?
Yeah, no, a lot of consolidation. A lot of them do fail.
Yeah.
Right? Because the pace of change is so fast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's the thing that's also a detriment to a lot of the efforts around diversity and inclusion is because it takes time to make change in those areas, right? Especially as it pertains to a company's, say, social justice stance on an issue. You had a lot of companies, even my company, you had employees saying, I want you to come out against the refugee ban or the travel ban or something like that. And a lot of our executives were very tentative to say that our company stands here or there, right? They
want to stay neutral.
They want to stay neutral because, well, you know, for some companies, a large percentage of their revenue is from the federal government, right?
Yeah.
So, and so it makes it tricky for companies to you know, quote unquote, take a stand on a lot of these issues.
So, what can a Filipino American who wants to enter the tech industry?
Is there a pipeline?
Or is there a way to move up, kind of the working ladder, in the industry?
Yes. Well, I would say, in my experience, it's all about the one thing we're lacking are sponsors, right? And so there's mentorship.
We're lacking that too.
Yes.
Sponsor.
Brought to you by our own wallets. No, but in all seriousness, I think one of the things is we're having trouble identifying and finding who those executives are, and number two, those executives who want to, you know, take on this cause, if you will, to promote Filipino Americans within the tech industry. And then number three, you know, the way the game is played is typically it's a person who is following a certain leader and kind of saying, okay, I'm going to pull you up. I'm going to take you with me. I'm going to another company. I'm going to hire you. And they climb the ranks together, right? So that's what that's what I mean by sponsor. Someone's going to go for bat for you to say, you know what, you got to hire Joe or Joe is going to get hired because I say so. And I have all these qualifications to make that happen or that influence.
I'm a history major and I work perfectly in tech.
I think you could. No.
We'll see. Oh yeah, what's his name? What's his name? The owner of Dallas Mavericks. Mark Cuban. Yeah, he talked about how liberal arts is folks who have a liberal arts background is going to be very valuable in the kind of future tech economy
because we have skills in critical thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I've been told and what I tell people.
But what's also interesting though is the fact that, you know, as Filipino Americans, we should have, I would say, an advantage given our, proximity to having those Western culture tendencies, in terms of potentially playing the game. Right, or knowing how to play the game, because I know if I look at our other Asian American demographics like Chinese, Indian, etc., they actually play it better than we do in the fact of hiring their own, promoting their own, etc. So if I look at the executives, for example, in my own company, they're all Chinese or Indian, right? And so if I want to ride a certain bandwagon or wave of leaders who are growing in the company and getting promoted in the company and that are Asian, quote unquote, that's the wave I'm going to ride because I don't have a Filipino American executive.
Oh, so you're reaching out to other Chinese or Japanese American or Indians, whoever they're for that guidance, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Are there Filipinos in tech who are playing kind of that leadership or development role, bringing people into the fold, into the industry?
Not that I see or hear. Yeah, I mean, I think Joe even asked me. He said, "Hey, do you know any inclusion and diversity tech executives in Silicon Valley?" And my wife's a recruiter; she can find anyone. Right? Couldn't find a single person.
Isn't there like a? Oh no, never mind. That's like kind of a young professional. It's kind of more general.
Yeah,
association or something. But
there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. There are a lot of them struggle to find a real value proposition that sticks, right? So, As an example, I was asked to participate in another group here in the Bay Area called the Global Filipino Network, led by a guy who's just really passionate about our community. And he said, Carlo, I want you to be the guy who does all of the the employee resource group, reach out to all the Filipinos. And I said, how am I going to do that? Right? There's probably a nursing association. There's a lawyers association. There's nothing for tech that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to bring all of these people together and even identify who they are? Are they legit? Are they still active, etc.? Right? So kind of that organization that brings everyone together, or at least links everyone together. It strived to be that, but again, not having that value prop that makes it sustainable, right? And then lack of sponsors and things like that made it very difficult.
Yeah. I wonder
they need a beauty pageant or something.
I was gonna say, I wonder what the hook is, because I think that
Toro.
the industry itself is so kind of like dynamic and
fast paced.
Yeah, like I almost feel like you kind of touched upon like the survival of the fittest, right? So like even like the smaller companies or smaller tech companies that are startups, or sometimes their goal is to just be sort of bought out, and and I don't know where the diversity kind of
Wait, are you saying our goal is to be bought out?
No. For TFAL to be acquired?
Who's going to acquire us?
The other American one?
No, but I guess what I'm trying to point out is it's not different than any other kind of industry that at the leaders of an industry in the United States end up being skewed a certain way. Yeah. And I think that it's just a little bit more apparent because it's sort of still young and it's always changing. But when you look at we were just talking about like theater and film, and only now are we realizing the industry shifting a little bit right towards people of color. Mm-hmm. But the industry's been there for a long time, and I think that you touched upon like the dangers of this happening so fast that, man, the shade and even the gender of the folks at the top are always going to be the same if nobody at the top actually pulls somebody from
correct without those leaders who are aware and are actually true advocates of quote unquote the cause, right? So as an example, when our past CEO left 2 years ago, the new incoming CEO Chuck Robbins basically blew up the executive leadership team and said, I'm doing 50-50 male female. We've got 2 Asian Americans actually as part of the executive leadership team. And we said, wow.
Right.
Okay, progress.
That's major change.
A major change.
Yeah.
And these executive sponsors these days are now actually putting money to our employee resource group events. Like, for example, we just had our World Cisco Asian Affinity Network Day celebration, and we had Wong Fu Productions there. Nice. We had I got the Mango Kings from the Bay Area to come perform.
Ooh.
Yes, we had 7 Asian food trucks, and we drew almost 1,000 employees to this event.
Wow!
But
what food trucks? Sorry.
We had a boba truck. I don't think we had a Filipino truck. That'll have to change for next year. Yes. But those are the things that really make an impact.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So,
well, there's also what's his name, Dado Banatao. Right, he developed a microchip back in the day, but a lot of his efforts are towards the Philippines. And there's also Bobby Murphy, who was the co-founder co-founder of Snapchat.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But I think he's just kind of rediscovering his kind of Filipino roots. Yeah. There's he's actually going to the Philippines, I think.
Let's get him on the podcast. What do you think?
I wish.
Hey, Bobby Murphy from Snapchat and the Bucket List Family Instagram. If you want to be on This Filipino American Life, reach out to us at thisfilipinoamericanlife@gmail.com. Also, I want to know how you figured out to get your trip paid by somebody else, because I would like to go to the Philippines myself since I have never been there.
And I know you have billions of dollars, so
and actually there's a
sponsor some of these things.
And there's actually another gentleman who's doing an effort around startups for Filipino American businesses.
That's cool.
I think it's called Manila Valley.
Oh yeah, I saw that at the.
It's an Australian Filipino.
I saw
You
that
saw
at the thing last night, the night market.
Oh.
Yeah, they had like a small booth. I didn't know what it was, but
Oh.
Yeah. So he does like workshops on how to do your pitches,
Nice.
or
That's
how do
cool.
you interact with venture capitalists, right?
Yeah.
And those things. So plugging in Filipino entrepreneurs, whether they're from here or from the Philippines, into Silicon Valley. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Joe, maybe we should talk to them. Dang.
Yeah.
Shoot.
That's cool.
All
Next
right.
time.
Next time.
Next time.
So, Carlo, thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us.
That
Yeah,
sounds
this has
awesome.
been like really informative.
Totally. I had no idea a lot of these things.
I still don't know because I'm low tech.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailat. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.